G'day folks, talking about getting a fuller sound with the harmonica without using an iPhone app to split the screen and accompany yourself. A lot of fun though, man. Acapella, it's a free app, check it out, loads of fun. For real though, filling up your sound, I'm talking like double stops, tongue splits, the chording sounds in between notes. That stuff is equally as significant when playing with a band. I do a lot of playing by myself, so that is really important for me, and the guys I copped in the beginning was Little Walter and John Lee Williamson, and like I've said before, those guys never had the intention to play in a band. I think they were just trying to make money on the sidewalk with their harmonica, so having a full sound was very important when playing with fewer musicians. And double stops, playing the note adjacent beside the note that you're going for. So if you're going for the 3 draw, this is an A harmonica, letting the 4 draw come in as well, but also having control of how much of the 4 draw is coming in. You know, you can just grab a little bit of it, or you can do the 3/4 draw. Just the 4 draw, letting a little bit of 5 draw bleed in. Again, controlling how much 5 draw is coming in. Working out which double stops work all over the harp, in which context. That's a whole other part of the game, man. Tongue splits. I use tongue splits a lot. There's a lot of different combinations. Basically, you're playing 2 holes separated by a number of holes out of either corner of your mouth, blocking the middle holes with your tongue. So you got blow octaves, pure octaves all the way up the harmonica. A tongue split on the harmonica may not be a pure octave. There's a lot of different variations you can do, obviously. But finding out those octaves and finding which combinations work, man, that stuff gives you an instant double sound. I use that stuff a lot. 3rd position gives you some really cool octave stuff. 5th position in the top gives you some really cool octave stuff. One thing to be aware of is don't get caught up in only playing octaves, because it's all about context and it's not always appropriate. If you think like Rice Miller, he didn't use octaves that much or ever. I don't know. The tongue slapping sound, or at least mimicking the tongue slapping sound, really fills up things. Think about that boogie woogie. If you take out that pop sound, you get. So it can be cool to mix it up, but having the big bag of tricks, man, is what gets you going. If you're not tongue blocking, you can still mimic the sound by puckering a note, playing a chord, puckering the next note, playing a chord. Fills up the sound, will give you the same effect. 2-hole shakes, you can shake all over the harmonica. Different positions will offer different shaking options. The way you're shaking, if you think about pretty standard shake, you can bend the notes a little bit. Even though the 5 draw doesn't bend, it still gives it that bending quality. That's a very slight bend on the 3 draw, 4 draw, same thing. You hear Little Walter do that in rock, where he plays the 1 chord, he's playing the 3/4 shake. And then the band moves to the 4 chord, he just bends. And then move back to the 1 chord and he lifts it up. Very cool stuff. So you can do a very defined shake with both notes very obviously there. Or you can kind of play the 4 and 5 draw like in a double stop and kind of consistently get both notes, but still moving back and forth to get that shake sound. Different qualities, different effect. All of these things I just mentioned, I would consider that to be entry-level nuances. That's the type of stuff that when we say this is you learn by ear, listen, copy, this is the type of stuff that can't be notated. Of course you need to have some sort of foundation so you know what you're listening for. But it's these little nuances that we say, it's, the tradition of listening, blues, you listen to learn. That's what they mean, these little nuances. So when you hear blues is an oral tradition, it's passed down by ear, that's how you learn it. That refers to these nuances that are impossible to notate. It's very difficult to write that stuff down. So I'm not talking about, 3-4 draw. Yeah, we can write that down, but how much of 4 draws are you pulling in? That's becomes significant. And how much of the 1 draw is he letting in his tongue split? It becomes significant when you start ripping apart George Harmonica Smith. He varied that kind of stuff, so it becomes significant. That being said, it being an oral tradition is for the nuances. Of course, you have to have some foundation. You can't just expect to listen to this stuff and have a full grasp of it, unless you're Little Walter. But seriously, man, the way there for 99.9% of us is through scales theory, learning your chords, understanding what you're playing. It is an oral tradition as far as nuances and the stuff that can't be written down that you have to grab by ear, but there is a vast majority of it that you can learn on paper to strengthen your skills.